And on to the power rankings. This is where we really separate the men from the mice, and a lot of shakeup this week, so I'm pretty excited.
Big staple of the show. I know the viewers love it. I want to get right to it, and I want to talk about what's happened. What's been shook up a little bit this week.
I like that. So let's do it. Let's get on with it.
I'm in.
Shake it.
And now on to the top flight power rankings. Welcome to the Power Rankings AIS. The big difference this week was the return of Josh Zimke. This guy is an absolute bruiser, establishes a great presence down low, and what that enables them to do is to open up the floor for a lot of their shooters beyond the arc. You saw that this week as they beat the Lakers. In the 4 spot, the Mavericks. I've got one thing to say about the Mavericks. I've been high on this guy's game all year, and I continue to be, and that's Tyrell Sledge. To give you a little insider information, the UH Paparazzi was at noon ball at the Arena Club downtown this week. I happened to be there. I happened to guard Sledge, and he scored on me effortlessly, and then halfway down the court said, you know, I only got it in second gear. That gives you a little idea of what kind of game Sledge has and how hard he is to stop. If he goes, the Mavericks go. In the 3 spot, falling from the number 1 spot the previous week are the Suns. I don't totally agree with this rating, but I can't disagree with the experts and our panelists in the back. They've got many complex equations to figure this. They lost to the Sonics, yes. They played a good game. The only thing I can think of that maybe attributed to that loss was their lack of depth. Beyond Seabrands, Witt, and Tenbrook, these guys need a little more contributions from other sources. Look for them, if they can get that, to be absolute contenders for the Gold Cup. In the number 2 spot, despite not playing this week, are the Raptors. This must be because the Suns fell to the Sonics. I understand that. But the Raptors, I think, until they come out and establish themselves as consistent players in terms of beating the Suns and the Sonics and other top-tier teams, which they have, I don't see a shift here. Number 2 spot, number 3 spot, I think that number 1 spot is somewhat elusive for them now. And in the number 1 spot, after the big win for the Sonics this week, who now stand at 4-2, are the Sonics. Ken Maxey, Red Johnson, Andre Ellis, these guys got great depth. They showed it the other night. They outran the Suns, and quite frankly, they just went too deep into their bench. These guys are number 1 right now, but they're kind of a helter-skelter basketball team. One week they show up, the next week they don't. Hard to say what's going to happen. This week they're atop the power rankings. The rest of the way should be interesting.
And on to the competitive division power rankings. In the 5th spot, Team Dime enters the picture. They're only 1-4 this season, and they take on the Celtics this week. The key to this team is Johnny Webb. Could be a silent leader. If Johnny can keep it cool on the court and guide this rookie team, they look like it could be a well-rehearsed Broadway show entering the playoffs and could be the upset ticket of the year. In the 4th spot, the Warriors. After a disappointing showing against the T-Pups last week, they hold tight. This team knows they can compete better than that, and I look forward to a rematch. The key was holding Mike Burns to less than 10 shots. Mike Burns usually shoots up about 20 a game, and he'll give it to you, 20, 25 points and 10 rebounds. But they held him to less than 10 shots, so they figured out in the middle, if they just put their hands up and kick it to the outside. That's why Adam Selnow had a big game with 5 of 5 from behind the arc. The key to this team, though, is Brian Kruschke. If he brings his A game, this team can truly be a contender for the Cup. An unusual slow performance for Danny Simmer last week. I look for him to get back up to speed and this team to get back on pace this week. In the 3rd spot, the Mavs 2.0. Eric Ritter, in my mind, very much a contender for the MVP in the competitive division MVP race. He has 24 points and 6 rebounds a game and one of the quickest releases behind the arc that I've seen in UH. Bawarni in the middle, holding it down with 16 and 9, and then also the newcomer Marshawn Johnson. He's a shot-blocking machine. Watch out, these guys could be really creeping in towards the playoffs. In the 2nd spot, though, Flight of the Conchords. What a cast. This team defines unselfish basketball. Phil Sowden, 19 and 8 and 4 assists. Matt Omi, 18 and 3. John Lee, the former Bull, 11, 4 and 34. Tyler Kramer, 11 and 4. Tyler Kramer, 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. Jay Stein, 9 points and 13 rebounds. So many stats, guess what? They distribute the ball better than anybody else. And finally, Dan Wheeler, 28 points and 10 rebounds a game. I'd challenge this team to step it up to top flight next season with the way that they're playing team ball. And in the number 1 spot, holding tight, the Timber Kings. 2 of the next 3 games against the emerging Team Dime and Flight of the Conchords. They have established themselves as the team to beat without the conquistadors in the league. Balance, that's the key to this team. No one player stands out, but the team does. That's this week's competitive division power rankings. To this week's recreational power rankings. Some shakeup at the bottom. The Bulls, welcome to the power rankings. Where were you this whole time? Aaron Lace having a standout season, averaging 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Rudy being back in the lineup is the gel to this team's success. I truly, he's not a stat king, but he brings the group together and makes them a better team. And the two guys on the inside, the twin towers, if you will, Matt McClintock and Ben Croat, really make this team top 5 material. If you didn't see Ben Croat's interview with Isaac Vogel last week, you got to check it out. He's going to uproot that basket and go get him some gold. On to number 4, the Spurs. Can their immaculate season continue? Next couple games, they have the Upright Citizens Brigade and then also the Cavaliers. The Cavs do not want to miss the playoffs, and that's where they're headed right now. They're really missing Larry Foth. So the Spurs can really get big on the inside with Walrack this week. Teams are starting to contain Walrack, though. After all the hype, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't even scored 10 points. Have we figured out Dan Walrack? I don't think so. I think he has a lot to prove in the coming weeks. My guess is the Spurs are going to continue on, maybe one loss, but they're going to be top 4 playoff material. And in the third spot, the Madmen. After a disappointing loss to the Clippers, this team showed their teeth by handing it to the Pistons last week in a 20-point win. Led by as much as 28 points, but they had 25 turnovers. So this team's really up and down at this point in time. What team can turn it over 25 times in a game and still win by 20 points? As one observer said to me last week, this team could easily win the Cup if they had a consistent performance with the same squad each week. The team winds their season down with 2 more gritty opponents. Cavaliers this week. Without Larry Foth, they could get big on the inside. And the final game of the season against the Timber Puppies. Keys to this team, L.W. Boykin and Tim Dobson, both newcomers to the league, contributing big for the Madmen. In the second spot, the Clippers. Next game is against the Bulls. This is going to be a key matchup. This could determine a lot in terms of playoff position. Josh Hennessy, let's talk about him for a second. MVP-type season, but he's only played in 3 of the games. So when this team is all together and everybody shows up, you can't stop him. He missed 2 weeks. So Matthew Kane, let's talk about him for a second. 17 points in 7, and he's made 19 of his last free throw shots. I wouldn't put this guy at the line if the game's in the line at all. Number 1, the T-Pups. Let's talk about things we don't usually do with this team. 2 men holding it down on the inside deserve props, and that's Nick Jude, who's going to get his first All-Star nod this year, and also Eric Parkin. This is not a 2-man team, contrary to popular belief. And it's a team where people know their roles. The team shows up early and practices together week. They get along. To me, this defines what a rec team should strive for. Consistency, team ball, and having fun. Don't get me wrong, they compete. Just ask 23 teams they've beaten in the last 3 seasons. Clippers already wanting that matchup, but I'm not sure these 2 teams are going to meet the Gold Cup this year because this week's power rankings show you there's a lot of shakeup at the top.